going through a process, right?
It is, absolutely. And we should be very happy about this. Somebody actually read the bill. You can't imagine that. These bills, you get 700 pages, 800 pages, 900 pages. Who can read that whole thing? But somebody took it to task, and they discovered, I forget what the designation was, but is in here somewhere in this article. Here it is. Section 43201, subsection C. You got to be kidding. But nevertheless, the language was in there. If this bill passed, and I hope it shouldn't pass at this point, even based on this clause. But here's the language. No state or political subdivision may enforce any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act. This is absolutely inconceivable to me, that they think that they could get away with this, hamstringing the states. The states have every right and duty to regulate AI in the first place. But I have to say, when Trump came into office, the first thing that all these tech bros did was to insist that Trump regulate or deregulate AI in the first place. Let it go wide open to go whatever. They didn't want any regulation at all. So this is just an extension of that. Well, forget the federal government regulating it. Don't let the states do it either.
Yeah.
What do these people thinking? They're just going to run over us like a steamroller?
Apparently, in 10 years, when this is supposedly after 10 years, they'll be able to regulate. But at that point, it'll be too late to regulate it. I mean, it will be, can you imagine where AI is going to be in 10 years? I mean, there's going to be no way to go back.
I know. There's no way. Exactly. And, I'm sure if this passed, it hasn't yet, but people need to call their congressman at this point and say, are you crazy? Get that thing out of there.
Yeah.
You can't do this. And if they do it, it'll be challenged by every state at that point. And that's going to make a legal quagmire of epic proportions.
Yeah.
Because the states aren't going to put up with this. This is an issue of states' rights. Nothing in the Constitution should prevent the states from doing anything like this regulation to protect the people of their state.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. And they should be able to rewrite the bill, right? Someone should be able to bring it forward with revised without this in there. Correct?
Well, they certainly can. I mean, they're in charge of the language right now. I would like to know who is the rat that snuck this in the first place. I would like to know specifically who put their pen to this amendment.
I think I know who was pushing for it. I'm sure Elon was in there pushing for this. Don't you think?
Well, you'd have to think maybe, but that you could surmise that for sure. But I would like to know specifically who was there.
Yeah.
Who suggested this in the first place? Maybe it wasn't a congressman. Okay, I grant it. A lot of stuff gets written by lobbyists, right? So it could be a lobbyist or it could be Elon Musk. Who knows? Well, Elon Musk is a lobbyist as well.
Yeah.
He is, yeah, but he's the master lobbyist at this point in Washington, D.C. for AI. But I would really like to see some accountability on this. Who put this in the first place? I want to see the name of that person. I want to see his picture. I want to see his resume
and,
as well.
And no matter how much the average American knows about AI, I feel like I would venture to guess a large majority, close to 100%, are not totally sure they trust AI, or they have some worries about what AI could do. And so why would any average American, want there to be no way for us to put any restrictions on the production of AI or the advancement of AI?
Exactly. This, by the way, this deregulation goes hand in hand with the philosophy of accelerationism. And this is a big thing right now. That Mark Andreessen, for instance, he wrote his tech manifesto a year ago or so, and the philosophy is that you need to let tech go completely, deregulate everything in existence, and not just AI, but everything else. And technology needs to be raced forward as fast as it can go. This is the philosophy of accelerationism. And you see this in this language here. It's not specifically said that way, but you can see they want to get all of the tethers off right now. So technology just go poof and be implemented everywhere at the same time. This is really dangerous philosophy, my friends. It really is. We don't want that. We want our leaders to protect the citizens of the country. That's their role. In fact, that's the only role that they have in Congress, is to protect the people of the country from harm. Period.
Yep.
They're not doing it. They're not doing it right now.
And they're not going to be able to if this passes.
I know.
No one's going to be able to.
I know. It's inconceivable, in my opinion.
Gosh. You want to jump to the next one?
Yeah.
before we come up on the break here, we got technopopulism's Trojan horse, how the dark Enlightenment hijacked the populist movement. And this is an article you wrote, correct, Patrick?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And this is a serious article, I have to say. The populist movement never had a clue that this was coming. At least I don't think they understood it. I've talked to several people who consider themselves populists. Basically, the reaction against the establishment at that point, when the populist movement arose in the first place, basically the cry was, "Get government off our back." You know,
yep.
Quit weaponizing everything against us. We saw this especially during the Biden administration. But instead of making America great again, and that wasn't the only thing that populists wanted. I mean, okay, that's what Trump came up with, and that was a good slogan, I'm sure. But America is not being made great again with this other worldly philosophy that snuck in. This business about the dark Enlightenment, dark MAGA. This is totally opposite of anything that we were thinking before the November election. It's stunning at this point how much this thing is reversed field in just a few months since the election.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when you think about it, they're really polar opposites. I mean, the populist movement wants less government, and the dark Enlightenment, what's his name again? The guy who came up with that phrase?
Yeah, Curtis Yarvin.
He's calling for like a monarch, is he not? Or
yes.
king.
Yes, exactly.
That's quite the opposite from less government.
It is. What we used to consider individual liberty, local self-governance, the rule of law, that's a big thing. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And constitutional restraint. Where'd all that go? All of a sudden, there's just no end of it. You can't throw the Constitution under the bus and think you're going to end up with a legal, fair, justice-oriented system. That can't happen. Yeah. And this is exactly what's happening, however, because apparently the law is just out the door. And restraint is out the door. And guardrails are out the door. Yeah. Nobody seems to have any common sense in Washington, D.C. at this point.
Yep.
We're on the break, I know.
We gotta go to break. We'll be back here in just a minute.
Better science leads to better outcomes. So by understanding the science in much more intimate detail, delivering a value product that is so different from anybody else.
So when we're stepping outside into seasonal changes, low humidity, sunlight, pollution, all of these things get communicated as stress on the top layer of skin that produces free radicals, and they're bad news for collagen networks. They're going to break down the collagen network and collapse that beautiful tensile strength of your skin. And so that's how we end up with fine lines and wrinkles. Bella Grace is really an elevated formula.
Better than the competition for very obvious reasons. First of all, we're delivering great collagen. We're delivering Verisol, which is the world's most studied form of collagen. So we're starting at a foundation that's really top notch.
So here is a lady today. She's taking the elixir, arthritis in her hands. She could not close her hands and make a fist. But after now being on the elixir, now she can.
The real breakthrough discovery, particularly with the cat's claw, is a switch that regulates genes. There's thousands of genes that are involved in that inflammation process. When you have chronic inflammation, the problem is the switch is on and it's not being turned off. And so what's happening with the cat's claw is that it removes that little protein switch off your DNA, and the genes go back to a dormant state, and you go back to being, well, really healthy.
When at first we wanted to just have an amazing collagen ingestible product to be able to set the skin up so that my wife, Christina, could come behind that with incredible skincare. And that's exactly what we're still doing. What we weren't anticipating was the magnitude and just the vast amount of benefits that this elixir was going to do for people. Testimonies started flooding back in. About probably 30% of the testimonies were about hair, skin, and nails. The others were about people being able to walk up their stairs again, people being able to open their hands in the morning without having to do heat therapy, people being able to sleep better, athletes before and after recovery, and the energy levels that people were having. So we realized that this is so much more than just a collagen ingestible product, which it certainly is that at the highest of levels. We've even had so many people in the health and wellness world say this is legitimately, Brian, the number one, the best health and wellness product that's ever been introduced. And I would say probably the only negative here with Bella Grace and this elixir is that it sounds too good to be true, but it really is true.
Bella Grace Elixir, a scientific breakthrough with over 80 clinical trials. Visit melissahousebg.com to discover Bella Grace Elixir and the full range of Bella Grace products.
Welcome back to Technocracy News. We left off talking about your recent article on technopopulism and how it has infiltrated the populist movement. And we were just saying how opposite it really is from the wants of the average populist who's in the movement. But they're being deceived, a lot of them.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of them are in denial at this point because they can't conceive that they've been so royally screwed with this thing. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. Sometimes you get in a situation where, oh, that can't be possible. There's no way that could be, happening. And that's what you call denial. Well, people can get snapped out of their denial really fast when they collide with reality. And it has a way of shaping you up, But at this point, the populist movement at this point is not reclaiming the republic at all. They're birthing, it's a replacement at this point.
Yeah.
And until the deception is exposed, technocracy will rise unchallenged, wearing the very clothes of freedom it seeks to destroy. This is so egregious in my mind. I just can't believe how naive people are. Well, okay, they're not naive necessarily, but they need to get their head out of the sand and understand what's going on here.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, most of these people who are up there, like Elon, Peter Thiel, these guys, were not part of the, I guess, populist, MAGA, Republican movement until they knew Trump was going to win. And they come on, and now everyone embraces them like they're leaders of the conservative party or the movement. When literally a year ago they were buddies with Biden.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm hot on another article right now. We'll have it certainly by next Tuesday. But this whole business about Elon Musk being the head of Doge, by the way, did you have the impression that Elon Musk is really in charge of Doge and he's like the leader or whatever you call him?
I mean, I thought he was.
Well, that's what everybody else thinks too. But no, he's not. There's an actual administrator of Doge. Her name is Amy Gleason. She's a career civil servant. She's been in IT for several years. She's officially the head of Doge.
And this is recent, or has this been the whole time?
No, this has been from day one. She's been in charge of Doge, and Elon Musk isn't even an employee of Doge. He's assigned his official title. This is in the record. His official title is Special Advisor to the President. Mm-hmm. Period. Has nothing to do with Doge whatsoever, even though Trump has promoted him as the head of Doge, and he says, well, he's the figurehead or something, maybe. But when I discovered this, I'm still processing it. Okay, what is going on here? Elon
really
Musk has been running around firing people, getting people moved out of Washington, D.C. altogether. Oh, boy, this is crazy stuff. Well, this is a story that's going to come quickly here. I'm going to try to figure this out and make sure all my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed, etc. Let's go on to reflexive law at this point.
All right, this last article we have here. Reflexive law, how technocracy has destroyed our legal system. And this is another one by you, Patrick.
Yes, it is.
You're cranking them out.
Like I said, I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll here at this point.
So what is reflexive law?
Well, this is something I've been talking about and writing about for over 10 years now. And reflexive law was another legal system that was introduced in early mid 1980s, and this is the legal system that was intended to support sustainable development with the United Nations. This was an otherworldly legal system, had nothing to do with our rule of law at all. In our society, this is the expectation of people, for sure, in America. Is if there's a law in the books and you break it, you're going to pay, period, right? If you can be, you have to be tried and whatever and to prove that you actually broke it. But the intention is here in our country, the rule of law means there are laws, period. There's statutes. And you break them, you're going to pay. Well, reflexive law flips that on its head and says, well, there's no law that you're going to be accused of, but you're going against societal norms like ecosystems and stuff like that. And you're going to be sifted in court by all of these other stakeholders, like the environmental organizations, the other expert witnesses that come in and say, you did wrong, you did wrong, you did wrong. You have to, modify your behavior to suit the court. This is how all of these farmers and ranchers have lost almost every lawsuit lodged against them to twist them off their land in the first place. It's because of reflexive law. This is wrong. It never should have been introduced into America in the first place. The first instance of reflexive law should have been thrown out of the courtroom immediately. But the courts have, for some reason, the courts thinks this is great stuff. Well, this is the outcome of sustainable development at this point. It's infiltrated our whole country, and even Trump at this point. If he were to say, we're not going to do anything that the United Nations ever told us to do, it's out of the door, and we're going to kick them out of the United States, out of New York City, that would not stop reflexive law. And that would not stop the effect of sustainable development throughout all of our cities, all of our counties, and all of our states. They've permeated the whole system with this stuff at this point. And I have to say, almost every major city in America, for sure, and most minor cities, like Mesa, Arizona, for instance, they have a climate action plan. And that basically sums up the net zero paradigm, the war on carbon, the war on fossil fuels, et cetera, the war on energy production other than alternative energy. Yeah, how do you get rid of this stuff? It's everywhere at this point. Every single community in our country has been infiltrated by this stuff. And at this point, we see the examples. In fact, I gave 2 examples in the case studies in this. Take a look at it. Somewhere in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Let me get to it.
You want me to read one?
Exactly. I got to get it here on myself. Okay, here we go. We'll get down to one here. Okay, here's the first case study number 1. The Klamath River Dam removals. This was a big thing. I think probably anybody in the country, especially if you're in ranching, you know exactly what happened. This was a total, not injustice. This was crazy scheme to rip out the whole dam system on the Klamath River, which has been in place for many, many years as a great source of hydropower as well. But they wanted to save the salmon. The salmon, they have to run up the river or whatever. The salmon just fine with fish ladders and stuff along the way. But no, we need to remove all. Let them make it easy for the salmon to get up there. And they just go up there and spawn, and then they go back to the ocean and wherever. This was the case that they made against the Klamath River system, and they took it to court, and through the process of this reflexive law, all the stakeholders, all of the NGOs, the environmental groups, the Indians came in, everybody else and their brother came in to have their say on why the farmers needed to give up their rights to all that water in that dam system. And the end of it is it got destroyed. And I have to say, going back to 1996 or so, when Bill Clinton was in office. The Secretary of Interior at that point was Bruce Babbitt. Bruce Babbitt is the guy that initiated this policy in the first place. Bruce Babbitt was a member of the Trilateral Commission. You go figure that one.
And he was how was he related again? You said
he was the Secretary of the Interior. That means he's in charge of all this stuff, right? He's the guy that put in policy dam removal across the country, and there's more dams on the target list right now to be destroyed. It's incredible. Well, this is reflexive law in action. It'll going to destroy our legal system. And
it's not just dams it's going after either, is it? Ranches, farms.
Exactly. Anywhere you see a lawsuit in the name of something environmental, especially, that's reflexive law, because they can't do anything. You didn't break a law per se, but they're going to take you to task because you violated their standards.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that doesn't fly in America.
Well, we're all out of time. We'll be back next week at the new show. You got something you want to say to close this out?
Nope. We've had enough for today.
All right. Take care.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview. And good evening. Welcome to Worldview Tube's Washington Report for this evening, Thursday evening, May 22nd, 2025. Joining us from our nation's capital is my co-host, Jim Paff of theconservativecaucus.org, theconservativecaucus.org. It's been a very sad day. We've done a lot of coverage here today on the murder of two Jewish young people who were reportedly about to be engaged next week when they went back to Israel. They were gunned down outside the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. last night, a little after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have covered it today on radio, and tonight on my broadcast, Brandon House Live, we'll have Alan Dershowitz. We'll have on Misha, Marty Goetz's daughter, Misha Goetz. Her name is now Misha Hoyt. She got married. Turns out Misha actually had dinner with the young lady that was murdered not too long ago. She'll share all